Hi, once again, it's a late night show. Been working very hard on some on a TED Talk speech actually that I'm doing in October. But I wanted to carry on what I was talking about last night to move on the idea of developing your stories, because if you're going to develop your speaking, no matter what that's for, whether it's speaking in terms of being a professional speaker or speaking in just in terms of inspiring staff or delivering presentations for work, sales, ultimately you need to be storytelling. And it's, oh, hi, Ria. Good to see you. Talking about storytelling, so I don't know whether this is going to be good for you. So the most important thing about any story that you're putting together, if you're going to be learning how to speak and developing your speaking, is that your story has to be based upon conflict. There's got to be some challenge. The basic idea that was taught to me by Doug Stevenson, the storytelling teacher from the States, was that the simple principle of a story is somebody wants something, has difficulty getting it. And one of the things he taught was to look at a timeline, to go through your life and look at all of those moments when you've really caught a shift where something has happened that's moved your life off in another direction. And if you look back through your life, you'll find that there are points, and we talked last night about the idea of these extraordinary moments when things shift. And sometimes they're very simple moments. As the talk I was doing last night was just about having a conversation with somebody. The big moments that have shifted my life have sometimes they've been a bit dramatic. On one occasion, a dramatic moment was I was taxi driving in order to earn money to survive, and I crashed the taxi. Wasn't really hurt, but it was a fairly dramatic moment, and I lost my job as a taxi driver, and as a consequence I got a job doing some sales, and that completely changed the direction of my life. And if you go back through your life, you'll find that there are those moments when your life shifts off on another direction, and these are the moments you need to look and try and make a note of. And I have a little book which I keep, and I just, I've got lots of little books. Here's my current little book, and any moments, any little thoughts, anything that's going on, if I hear something which is important, I put them down. Stories that I suddenly come to mind, I think, all right, I'll just write that down. And I write a couple of pages about it just to make sure I've got the notes to remind me there's a good story that I can use it. Now, at some point, I'm going to find some way to attach it to a message. But the first most important thing is just to start building up great stories and picking up on those stories that you can use in your life or in your speaking in order to inspire people, motivate people. And you'll be amazed at how you can just pick those little things up, tiny little stories sometimes. But the big important thing, draw a timeline of your life and look at the moments when things have suddenly veered off in another direction. And that's the moment. And you track it back to the earliest point at which that whole new direction started. Now, sometimes a good place to look is for the dramas in your life, something that's really, really happened that was massive, climaxes, things, great moments of success. Those are the climaxes. And if you look at the story, and I'll look at some story structure later in the week in terms of how you structure stories, but at the moment we're trying to find the beginning of the story. The climax is what you're going to build up to. But in order to create a good story, you've got to basically set the scene, and that scene has always got to be some conflict. That's what people like. If a story doesn't have conflict, nobody's interested. Nobody watches a movie where there's no conflict. We want to see the hero having trouble, facing near-death experiences, suddenly having to, wrestle with their conscience, find something inside of them that enables them to push forward onto another direction. So all the time you're looking for those kind of stories. What were the moments in your life when you faced real crisis, where it was really touch and go? Are you going to make it through this one? Those are the moments that other people want to hear about. Those are the moments that other people are thinking, I'm there. Because there are going to be hundreds of people around facing the same crisis that you once faced. And they want to hear, how did you get through that? How did you overcome it? How did you get to where you are now, past that barrier? Because that's what we're facing in life, a series of crises where we overcome them, we grow and we move on. And if your life doesn't have those moments, if it doesn't have those moments of crisis, those big moments of conflict in it, it's going to be a pretty boring life. Interesting lives are ones where you've faced conflict. And interesting people are people who've overcome conflict and moved to somewhere else. And that's the real key that we're looking for. So track your life back, draw a timeline, start looking. When did your life suddenly veer off? Because I know no matter how old you are now, your life is almost certainly not where you thought it was going to be 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Mine certainly isn't. If I look back 20 years, I had no idea I was going to be where I am today, even 10 years ago. No idea that things were going to be here. And we're constantly facing God. Sometimes it's a long period of conflict, of overcoming some challenges, learning some lessons in life in order to get you through. But look at those moments. Just track your life back. Look at that timeline of your life. Look at the moments when your life has veered off, started to move in another direction. Those are the start points. And then you can look, what's the conflict? What was the conflict you overcome? I talked about Aristotle last night. We're going to keep coming back to Aristotle. His idea of a good story, it's pity, fear, catharsis. Those are the three elements. So you're establishing a sense of wanting people to feel a bit of pity for, a bit of sense of, oh my God, what a challenge that they've got to face, fear of the terrors that you're going to have to get through, and then finally the catharsis when you achieve it. And if you look at all the great movies, they all work on that same basic principle. We start off and we need to connect the audience with the protagonist to think, oh my God, what a terrible situation they're in. And then it gets worse. And we look at the conflicts that they face, the near-death experiences, or just the trauma. Sometimes it's not near-death, it's just the heartache and the bitterness of breakups or whatever that someone's facing through. And then they come through it, and a good story always ends with some movement forward. And that's where your message is. That's the story that you're trying to get across. That's the point you're trying to make with your story. So that's the whole idea that we want to think about. Just start looking back at your life. Start keeping records of it, because those are the stories that you can use to entertain people. They're fun. They're good to look at, and they're good to remember and share with other people. So look at your life. Look at the points that you've moved off in another direction. Start recording what those stories were, what the conflicts were you overcame, and how that resolved itself. So that's for tonight's bit on storytelling. Pity, fear, catharsis. Basic principle from Aristotle. Look for the transitions, the moments when your life started to veer in another direction. That's the start of a great story. Talk to you tomorrow night. Thanks for all being here. Just a few people I'm seeing here. Pamela Chan, hi, great, Grace. Trying to get my machine to let me know what's on, and Rio I know is still here. So great to see you all. Thank you very much indeed. Nearly midnight, so I'm going to go and get some sleep. I've got a long journey tomorrow down to Birmingham to do some training, but I shall be back online tomorrow at some point. Look forward to seeing you there. Take care.